have to know what simplifying fractions mean. And when you were little, you knew that if you had 2/4 of a pizza, you still had half of a pizza. Okay, so first we have to know what a simplifying fraction is. So first you have to know that an equivalent fraction are just fractions that describe the same part of the whole. So 2/4 and a half are equivalent because they're both describing a half of the pizza. So if I say I have 2/3 of the pizza or 4/6 of the pizza, I still have the same amount of the pizza. Just like if you look here, 1/3, 2/6, and 4/12 still take up the same amount of space of that pie or that bar. Does everyone remember this from lower school? Okay, cool. All right, so you can calculate equivalent fractions by either multiplying or dividing the numerator and the denominator by the same non-zero factor. So in other words, you can't divide by 0. That would be pointless. You're not going to get anywhere. You can either go up or you can go down. It doesn't matter. So right now at your table, find 3 fractions that are equivalent to 4/12. Make 1 be lower and 2 can be higher. So hopefully, I'm just going to go down. Yusuf, give me one. 3 9s. Perfect. Charlie, give me another one.
2/6.
2/6. Telich Bush, give me another one.
1/3.
1/3. Kate, give me another one.
8.
Perfect. Ella, give me another one. Okay.
1236.
1236. Now, Ella, if you're stuck, you could always do just like 1 times 12. You can multiply these by anything you want because they're all the same, so it doesn't matter. Does anyone have one that maybe they want to say? 1648. Any other ones? Jail.
24 7 seconds.
24 70 seconds. Very good. Any questions on how you do that? Is anyone confused? All you're doing is multiplying or dividing the top and the bottom by the same. The numerator and the denominator. Everybody good? Everybody good? All right. So find a fraction that is equivalent to 10/14, 14/20, and 21/27. Do that quickly. Do that quickly. Just find one for each. All right. So for this one, I would have divided by 2. Now, do you have to? No, you could have multiplied. And I would have said 5/7. You could have also multiplied by 2 or multiplied by whatever and got 20/28. That would work too. All of those work. It doesn't matter. You could have multiplied by 5. This one, I would have divided by 2 again, just because it's easy, and got 7/10. You could have also multiplied by 2. What could I divide both of these by? This one's a little bit more challenging. John Henry?
3.
3. And 21 divided by 3 is what? 7 ninths. 7 ninths. Any questions about those 3? Any questions? Everybody good? Okay. Hopefully this top part was a review. Hopefully. And not too challenging. Alright. So the next one is a fraction is its simplest form. So from now on, all answers must be answered in simplest form. If you can make a fraction go lower, you need to get it as low as possible. You're in pre-algebra now, so all fractions need to be in simplest form. That is when the numerator and the denominator have no common factors, hence why we just did greatest common factor, other than 1. So if you get to the point where you can't divide them any further, they have nothing left in common, that's in simplest form. So there's 2 ways. There's ways you can do this. If you're stuck, let's say I don't know if it's in simplest form. First thing is find the greatest common factor. If you can find the greatest common factor, you're going to go to simplest form real fast. And you may know the greatest common factor off the top of your head. Then you're going to divide, because you want to get smaller, simplest form you're getting smaller, divide the numerator and the denominator by the greatest common factor. Now, I understand some of you probably know the greatest common factor of 8 and 12. I get it. But we're going to do it doing the greatest common factor to see how fast or if you're stuck, how it can go. So right now, do a factor tree for 8 and 12 and find the greatest common factor. Do a factor tree of 8 and 12. Okay, hopefully you got something along these lines. Hopefully. And you notice that they have two twos in common. So their greatest common factor is what? 4. Because it's 2 times 2. Be careful there. It's easy to say 2, but they have 2 twos in common. So now, the first step said find the GCF. The second step says divide the numerator and the denominator by the GCF. So just divide by the GCF. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So the simplest form of 8 twelves is 2/3. You guys have done this before, correct? Correct, but not finding the GCF. You don't have to find the GCF. This is just a way if you're stuck. If you're like, I don't know if it's in simplest form, then find their GCF. And if they have nothing in common, then you know it's in simplest form. Does that make sense? Do the 3 on the back. Not if you don't need to. If you don't need to do the factor trees, don't feel like you have to, but if you need to, go for it. Common factor. If you did the greatest common factor, that's awesome. If you didn't, that's awesome too. So this one, you should have found the greatest common factor if you did it. If you did it to be 3. Hopefully you got 3. So divide the top by 3. Divide both of them by 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 39 divided by 3 is 13. So that's 4/13. 4/13. The greatest common factor way is the way to do it so you know it's the simplest form. So the next one, if you did it, hopefully you got the greatest common factor to be 7. 7. Divide both of them by 7. So 28 divided by 7 is 4. 35 divided by 7 is 5. So hopefully you got 4/5. Hopefully you got 4/5. The last one, you may not have had to find the greatest common factor. This probably is the one you didn't have to. But if you did, it was 4. So divide by 4, and you get 1/5. Or I saw some people, they divided by 2 because they were both even, and then they just divided by 2 again. That's perfectly fine too. You just have to keep going until it gets to simplest form. Any questions about those 3? Okay, let's get into the algebra version of this. All right, here we go. This is the algebra version. You are doing things the exact same way. So what I do is I split it into each little section. So I split it into numbers, variables, variables. So if there's an x and a y, I split it like that. So on this one, I'm going to make 2 fractions. I'm going to make an x over x and a 1 over y. I basically am just separating them out. I'm putting the x's with the x's and the y's with the y's. Does everybody see that? This is pretty simple. So basically, if you have the same thing on the top and the bottom, they cancel out or they make a 1 per se. So an x divided by an x is really just 1 over 1, if you wanted to see it that way. Or just 1, or just nothing, for real. So, and then this has nothing you can mark out. Because, so, your answer for this one is just 1 over y. Because that's all that's left. Or, if you like to do it this way, if you don't like to separate out, I just cancel out my x's. And so I'm left with y, because the x's make 1. That's another way to do it. Everybody understand that? Yes, sir. Sure, yeah, the only thing they have in common is x, so you could have divided both of them by x, which would have gotten rid of the x, yes. Alright, let's try this one. This one's a little bit more complicated. So I separate this one into 3/12, a over a, b squared over 1, and then 1 over c. You do not have to separate it out this way, but you totally can. So, I do the fraction part first. What is the greatest common factor of 3 and 12? 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So I'm down to 1/4 there. That's as simple as that part can go. So I do 1/4. And I'm going to add to it as we go. So on top I have 1, on the bottom I have 4 right now. Everybody with me?
Yeah.
Do I have any A's on top or bottom? What's going to happen to them? Yeah, they're just going to make a 1. So I don't have any A's on top or bottom. Okay? Is there anything I can do with the B's? Do any of the B's cancel?
No.
So are the B's on the top or the bottom? Top. So 2 B's on the top, or B squared. And then where should the C's be? On the bottom. So your final answer is 1/4 B squared over C. Just like that. That's all you have to do. Now, there are multiple ways you can do this. This is just my strategy. There's multiple ways. You could have just sat here and said, this is 1/4, the A's cancel, that's all that's left. That's perfectly fine too. Use a strategy that works for you. Yes, sir.
Could you make it B squared over 4C?
Squared. Yeah, totally. Totally, if you go to this too. B squared over 4C. Yeah, you don't have to have the 1. You don't have to have the 1. Yes. Okay, let's try one down here. Let's try one in your blank space. Let's try 16y squared c to the 3rd. Everyone do this one with us. Over 12y c to the 5th. Okay, now, there's multiple ways you can do this. I'm going to separate it out. I like to separate it and see it as 3 different things. So I'm going to separate it as 16 over 12, y squared over y, and c to the 3rd over c to the 5th. Okay? You with me so far? Okay. What do 16 and 12, what can I divide both of them by to get them in simplest form? 4. And if you don't know that, go ahead and do that greatest common factor. So I divide by 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So right now I have 4/3. With me? And I like to write down what I have. So I have 4/3. Alright. So now I'm going to move on to my y's. My y's, I have 2 y's on top, 1 y on bottom. So how many do I really have after they cancel? 1, because these 2 can cancel. I can cancel. So all I have left is 1 y on top. So I'm going to add my 1 y on top. Good so far? Okay. So now I have C3, 3 C's on top, 5 C's on bottom. So once I can cancel out 3. I can cancel out this one, because they just make 1. So how many do I have left? 2. 2 C's on the bottom. So 4y over 3c squared. Either answer would work. I would accept both. Does that help? Okay, you guys try these 3. Try these 3 with your table first.
You have to put a 1 if there would be nothing there.
No.
So just put
Alright, let's bring it back together. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of good progress. On the last one, a lot of you left it as 6/2, which is not the simplest form, so be careful. Alright, so the first one, the only things that can cancel on that one are the B's. That's the only thing that they have in common. So, but you still need to make sure that the AC ends up on the bottom. So with a 1 on top. So 1 over AC. Or you could have done it this way. 1 over A, B over B, 1 over C. So that cancels. The only thing you have is this and this. So put them together. Super easy if you choose to do it that way. Questions on that one? Alright, the next one. 2 over 8, M over M, N over 1. What can 2 and 8 both be divided by? Everybody? 2. So this is 1/4. So I have 1 over 4. Oh, this is an M, sorry. So my M's cancel, and I'm just left with an N on top. So you could have left it as 1N over 4, or just N over 4. Both mean the same thing. and both are completely acceptable. Questions on that one? Alright, on the last one, 24 over 8. Now be careful. They change up the variable order, which is totally allowed. Totally allowed. So it's a y over y and an x squared over x. So my y's cancel. X times x, one of my x's cancels. So I'm left with an x on top so far. And then 24 and 8 have an 8 in common. So that leaves me with 3 over 1. So 3x over 1. Or just 3x, depending on which way you like to look at it. Any questions on those three? Yes.
On the last one,
Uh-huh.
so I started by dividing by 6, I guess, or
Oh, yeah.
or
3.
3,
Uh-huh.
and
We got
4.
4. We got
And
6 over 2. Uh-huh.
And I knew that wasn't neat, so I divided it.
Yeah, that's totally fine. If you don't get it right on the first try, just keep going. That's where Greg's common factor comes into play, so then you don't have to do it twice. But that's totally fine. Other questions? All right. I'm going to give you guys some time to start on your homework. So,